How do you do? We're about to unfold the story of Frankenstein. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. Well, we've warned you.
You have been warned. Welcome back to Frankenstein Minute, the podcast that dissects the universal Frankenstein film series minute by minute. I'm Tom Lang.
And I'm Bill Evenson, and we're going to talk about minute 56 of the original Frankenstein from 1931, where Boris Karloff's Frankenstein's monster, that's what I'm going to call him, is terrorized. Now he's terrorizing. Yeah, there's some definite terrorizing going on here. Elizabeth does continue the scream.
Yeah, she does.
We have resolution on that issue.
For those of you that were...
For those who were been waiting a week to find out if it was just half a second. No. There's some interesting stuff. I've mentioned this before, the subtitles on the disc.
Oh, right.
So this is something bizarre to me.
I found this one really odd.
This is really odd. So it says screams in parentheses, which I have no problem with that.
No,
that's
is
precisely what happens.
Exactly what she does.
And then it says, when the monster growls,
he goes,
he does his traditional, very good.
Thank you.
And the subtitles, it says, parentheses, mimics scream, parentheses. Yeah. No, there's nothing going on there. I would say the subtitles on these discs are phenomenal. I'd like to watch movies with subtitles on.
Okay.
I think I'm getting a harder hearing as I get older. Huh? I like to, exactly. I like to watch, TV shows from Britain or
and then
foreign films or whatever.
Well, foreign films you definitely have to.
Obviously, my Japanese ain't so good, but
rusty.
So I prefer it often.
Okay. I found it helpful for this.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah. There's actually something in this minute that I wouldn't have noticed. There's often stuff.
Yeah.
That
There's
I wouldn't notice.
Henry's saying that he has a strength of 10 men.
Okay.
It's hard to discern what he says.
Right.
For 50 years, I couldn't tell.
Had no idea until we did. Yeah. Well, there you go. See, it's perfect. But in this case,
this one is wrong.
It's just wrong. Yeah. There's no getting around it. I think I don't have to ask you what we think.
No,
we agree.
We think that
we
it's wrong.
know it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So once again, if I haven't made it clear, kudos on the subtitles.
Yes.
They're fucking great.
Yep.
This one's a mess.
This
is a complete disaster.
Yeah.
But an interesting idea.
Then doesn't the next one say screams again when she screams?
Yeah, I think it says screams again.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's a Vincent Price film from the 70s, Scream and Scream Again.
Scream and Scream Again.
So
this is
probably
where
they got the
That's where they got the idea.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. I think the original working title of that film, the Vincent Price one, was Mimic Screams and Scream Again.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they didn't go with that.
Yeah, no,
that was a good choice.
Too big for the marquee.
They didn't want to do that. So here's the other thing. It's quite a scream.
It is quite a scream.
It almost at some point sounds like a horn honking. I mean, she is setting off an alarm. She is screaming with great terror. Yeah. She is screaming so well. I mean, this is Elizabeth. Yeah. So we've been talking about Elizabeth for a year. What minute? It's over a year. We didn't even commemorate it. Maybe we'll have to figure it. We'll have to go back. So it's been a little over a year. You remember?
Yeah.
It's now fall of 2019. And you've been sticking with us for a year. We have talked about Elizabeth in mostly very specific terms. That she seems to be a competent, capable, reasonably strong woman. But, absolutely important to state within the confines of this genre at this time. Yeah, she's not. She doesn't pass. This movie doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
No, it does not.
We've talked about that before. But the point is, what we've always tried to make is she's generally a competent, capable person that has action. She causes most of the things to happen. And what she hasn't been doing is sitting around screaming. Victor, I think, has done it more. Like when the lightning scared him.
He hides behind her fur coat.
He does. Yeah, exactly. So this is the first time we get to hear her scream, and she knocks it out of the park.
Yep.
May Clark is great at
She's
this.
up there with Fay Wray.
Yeah. There you go, Fay Wray.
And I think it's a justified scream.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's being the wimpy horror movie heroine.
Mm-hmm.
She earned that scream.
Yeah, the context of this scream is important. It isn't, hey, I'm scared. This is amazing what's happened to me.
Yeah.
First of all, asshole locked me in here.
Me in the room. Yeah, thanks for that.
But also, the dink. For when we go back and cut out the swears to try to get the broader audience,
dink.
Everything will just say
we'll
dink.
We'll have to do some wild track of just
dink. So first of all, the dink did that, and then as we say, Boris Karloff. If we were able to take him out of time and put him have him walk in the door now, just walk in the door behaving like that,
looking like that,
even if I told you it was about to happen, you'd be scared.
Yeah,
because it's
alarming.
Scary.
Yeah.
It's very alarming.
Yeah.
Yes. So she appropriately screams, and in a way, you could say this is a continuation of her competence,
right?
Because this is the exact appropriate way to behave.
Yes.
Get me out of here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about Karloff, and I think up until, the 50s, maybe Christopher Lee, but even then, after Karloff, the role was either cast for the name. Because clearly neither Chaney nor Lugosi had any business playing that part.
Yeah, it's hard to understand why. We'll talk about Chaney.
Yeah.
But to me, Chaney's baffling. Lugosi is a bad decision that we just maybe could somewhat
justify.
Honestly, the justification for Lugosi is, well, fuck it, we already did Chaney.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And Glenn Strange was cast simply for his size and his appearance, which I believe Christopher Lee also was.
Probably.
But Lee elevated it to
definitely
almost the level that Karloff did. And I'll include De Niro as a bad choice for a Frankenstein monster. I don't think he's very good in that.
He's certainly not doing he's not doing what we would think he should be doing.
Right. Well,
which they're certainly going for something else. So I don't know.
But
maybe he's fine.
But Karloff remains, again, I've said it before, the gold standard of Frankenstein monsters, and particularly this scene, he's outstanding. I mean, he is genuinely scary.
Yes. Yeah, audiences were scared. This is one of those things we talk about a lot.
I saw it with an audience at the Bakken. We've talked about this. This is a museum in Minneapolis that's dedicated to, it started by the man who created the pacemaker.
Wow.
It was inspired by Mary Shelley.
Okay.
So they have a permanent Frankenstein display, but when they had a celebration for, I believe it was her birthday, anniversary of her birth, they had a screening of it, of this film, Frankenstein. And a lot of kids, I'm like, oh crap, they're going to be talking and making fun of it. And they were mesmerized. And this scene in particular wasn't a sound.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great to see that it still had that power over kids raised on the internet and video games and these big bombastic CGI abominations in the theater.
Also
could still be mesmerized by a very simple black and white film with no music.
Well, and also, if you would think, I would guess, I don't know what it's like to be a kid now, clearly, but you would think that the actual, or the standard visual components, the flat head or whatever, all the stuff that we associate with Frankenstein, it has become so ubiquitous that even a kid would have seen it in any number of contexts.
Right.
The main one being if they happen to see the monsters, whatever. Any number of reasons
toys,
they might see something
Halloween
that just,
things.
it doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless.
Commercials and Yeah, but I think it's still the man inhabiting the makeup brought that power to it. I can't say enough about his performance in this film. Enough good.
And we didn't talk about him for almost I don't know,
what was it,
half a year, 30 weeks we were and so let it out, man. Let it out.
I've always been an enormous admirer of him.
So he's your favorite then? You see that we've talked about this. You see this a lot on the internet and in monster groups and then in Twitter or whatever, that kind of stuff. And that's because it's great. We've talked about ways that we want to engage in this kind of conversation.
Right.
Who's better at this? How you rate this as opposed to that, because it's how you start conversation.
Right.
But to me, whenever they get to the for me personally, when they say who's the best monster, what's your favorite monster? Frankenstein anyway. That's just me personally. It's a no-brainer for me.
Right.
But I don't blame somebody who likes the Mummy
or
Karloff's performance of the Mummy in particular, or the Wolfman. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
But when someone talks about who's the best at what's the best Frankenstein's monster, it gets almost to the point of irking me.
Yes.
Like why are we talking about this?
How can there be any possible discussion?
Like the discussion to me is what are the merits and how would you rate the merits of Karloff's 3 performances.
Right.
That's a more
that's a more
valid.
Yeah, and I've actually replied to some of those discussions. Like, really, do we have to go down this path again?
Yeah, it's Blackenstein.
It clearly so.
I almost said Blackula, but who would do that?
Who would make that kind of mistake?
What does he want?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do a podcast about it.
Do you?
Yeah, so...
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'd be interested in
participating in that. It's on Google Play.
Is it? Okay.
So here's why it's a good question, in my opinion, is because there's a rape component.
It's implied.
There's an implied rapey...
Well, we definitely will get to that in a few moments here.
Yep.
Yeah, what is his motivation? Because he just had enough.
He just
killed this little girl.
Murdered a little girl.
Yep, totally unintentionally, I assume.
Yes, it seems if that's the case. That character that we saw just a few minutes ago, in that idyllic moment with the little girl, does not seem like he's terrorizing the mountainside. But this guy that comes in the window
does seem like
a bit like the guy who might be terrorizing the mountainside. What does he want?
I think we don't see all of it, but I think we get a sense from the novel especially, every encounter he has with humans has been negative.
Yeah.
He's treated badly because of how he looks. He's burned, screamed at, run away from, stoned. This is all from the novel.
Yeah.
Chased out of town.
Well, I was going to say, at least in the movie, he hasn't had a uniformly negative experience with Henry. But Henry is to blame for some of the stuff that goes on, so it really doesn't matter. Like
you talk about like in the Fritz torturing him?
Fritz torturing him, yeah, exactly. So Fritz, he takes the whip away. We talked about this weeks ago, but takes the whip away from Fritz.
And hangs him with it.
No, I'm sorry. Henry takes the whip from Fritz. But he doesn't whip him. But he also doesn't see to it that doesn't happen again.
Doesn't do it anymore.
He gets distracted and leaves. So it's bad enough, I guess.
He's culpable in his own way, yeah.
Well, I don't know why I'm saying any of this. The little girl's nice to him. But even that experience
ended
is bad.
Very badly for him.
Yeah. So every
experience that he's had with a human being has ended badly.
So he's going to try a new one. He's going to see if this will work out. Yeah. I don't know.
Will it?
I think it can't be understated. It can't be understated? It shouldn't be understated. It can't be overstated. I don't know. The rape component to this. So there's audiences in 1931. Okay, so this is pre-code.
Pre-code.
But so theoretically you can get away with the sky's the limit, but it isn't really.
No,
you're not going to be able. Already there were so many cuts, right? Like
right.
We talked about Kansas wanted to cut
like over half
the film. Yeah. So and this is why is because in a scene like this, it is assumed by audiences that a rape is
there's going to be
even though watching the film now, it would be insane to think that.
It would be, but the next time we see her,
well, we can talk about that. It happens in this minute.
It does because there's a cutaway. He's chasing her around the room. They kind of run off camera.
We cut back. You want to talk about the cellar?
Cut back to the cellar. We cut down to the cellar.
Cut down to the cellar. Cellar is a fucking mess.
I referenced it last week, but we hadn't seen it yet. But here it
is.
Yeah,
it's a mess.
Well, it's full of racks of wine and
more hay. I don't know what's going on.
Just junk hanging on
the
the walls.
The castle is a mess upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah.
It's just a big old mess. I guess they have a wedding going on. Maybe they were digging around there for wine.
Looking for stuff.
All right, his grandmother's wine.
And it looks lived in. I wouldn't say a mess necessarily. It just looks occupied.
That's true. It's real.
It doesn't look like
real.
a set that they used to show. After my surgery, I had no choice but to watch things like MeTV and Antenna. Mm-hmm. That's all that was in the hospital. And Dragnet was being run a couple times a day, and most of it looks like it was shot like in a school cafeteria was their office and stuff like that. But they would go to people's homes, and these sets looked like this was the first time human beings had ever stepped foot in this edifice. Because nothing on the walls. There were like two walls at a 45-degree angle.
Maybe an empty picture frame.
Yeah, maybe at an angle.
Well, I was going to say Ed Wood.
Oh yeah,
right? That's the same idea. It doesn't look like
anybody lives in these places, but this looks lived in. This looks occupied.
That's true.
There's things around. There's a little bric-a-brac in the the rooms upstairs.
Yep. It's paintings on the wall.
Paintings on the wall.
I noticed again there's another portrait on the wall in the room with Elizabeth and the monster. Yeah. And too far away to really tell.
There's a small painting in the room upstairs off to the right as well.
Oh, okay. Near the grandfather clock.
Near the grandfather clock that the monster was hiding behind.
So yeah, all right. So that's all we get to that. We hear sounds. We hear glass breaking.
Well, they hear the scream. Henry identifies it as Elizabeth, and this time, I think that's fine. It's not as goofy as, oh, he's upstairs. Yeah. Oh, he's downstairs.
Yeah.
This makes sense because I would recognize if my wife or fiance were to scream like that. Yeah. I would recognize. Holy crap, that's Dawn.
Yeah.
So
that would be the good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a very good thing. So he's not a dink in this instance.
Yeah, that's right.
They all dash up.
The dink is outdone himself. Yeah.
Yeah. The three of them dash up. Then we cut to the hallway and you hear the glass breaking and more screams.
Yep.
And everybody the Baron comes running from upstairs.
Okay. I couldn't tell if that was him.
Yeah, it's him. Because you hear him say stuff as they enter the room. He's part of the
babbling. Yeah, all right. Okay.
He's like, oh, let me through. I'm more important than all of you.
Yes.
I've got a giant
his
goiter on my neck.
Yes, his usual demeanor. Okay.
And so they kick the door in. And it's great because it's a wide shot of the room.
But before they get in there, you see the room, and you see the monster leaving.
You see the monster leaving.
You can see out the windows. Okay, there's so much to discuss
this shot in itself, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So as the monster is going past the windows, you can clearly see him leaving. He's holding his arms up in a very strange way.
Yeah.
He seems like, because it's sort of, again, going with this childlike theory and the way he sort of has behaved to this moment is he's
confused
upset.
Again. Yeah.
He's confused. Yeah. He's saying, "There's, crap. That didn't go well.
Yeah,
that sucked.
Didn't play out the way I thought it would.
It didn't work out at all." Yeah. So it's interesting because it isn't entirely consistent to have him be this character that had the experience with Maria and then suddenly have him creeping on Elizabeth the way he did. It's a little bit
out of character.
A little bit out of character. But now we're back.
Now we're
again.
back. Yeah.
So maybe we've misread him and his creeping was trying to be friendly.
Yeah, but then he growls menacingly.
Yeah,
he mimics
her
scream.
Which would seem to indicate, again, we'll go back to the rape idea, but more so the idea that he is going to get Henry's fiancée on purpose, which of course we don't think he is.
We don't think he is. Yeah, it's pure coincidence.
It's a bit of a mess, but it all works in context.
I still love it.
So. I still love it. So okay, and then
so we see her. This is where you're going, sprawled out on the bed.
Sprawled out on the bed. The room is trashed. Completely trashed.
Yeah,
that can happen really fast.
That doesn't take. Yeah.
Anybody who's been in the Who can tell you. It can go. It can get out of control very fast.
Go south pretty quick. So.
Keith Moon has been.
Keith Moon has been in the room. Well, and she's sprawled out on the bed, inferring a lot worse than probably actually happened.
Absolutely.
She looks like a victim of rape.
Yep.
She also looks like she's sprawled out as in a painting from. You know what I'm referring to?
I don't know the name of the painting,
from 1871. It's Henri Fuseli, The Nightmare.
Okay.
You've seen it. Everybody has seen it. It's a woman laying exactly like Elizabeth on her bed, but there's like some kind of incubus or something standing on her chest, like some kind of a demon or incubus, and then a crazy-looking horse peeking through the curtains of the bed.
Okay.
But I have to think that placing May Clark in that position was very, very deliberate on Whale's part.
I think so, yeah.
And they use that image
because it doesn't really, like you say, make sense in context.
No.
It doesn't seem like she would have gone over there and ended up there, unless he placed her there.
Right. They use that image of her in a lot of the advertising. In fact, it's right here on the box of this action figure.
Well, there you go.
There she is.
Yeah, that's true. Very iconic. That's probably what I was thinking of. Maybe I don't know the painting you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Incubus or the succubus.
It's called The Nightmare.
The Nightmare.
It's a very famous. It was actually Mary Shelley knew of it, liked it, so it was one of her inspirations.
Okay.
For when Elizabeth is murdered in the novel, as the monster's retribution for Victor, not following through on creating him a mate.
Every time you say Victor, I end up thinking of
John
Bowles.
I know, that's the problem.
I mean, it's not that Victor doesn't deserve retribution for what he has wrought on me, but it seems a little harsh.
It's a little harsh.
But again, also, as we're saying this, obviously we're joking, but
are we?
it does also bring it. Well, that's true, but I just mean there's an uncomfortable component to all of this, which is it seems reasonable and did seem reasonable at some point in history that if a man does something horrible, that the retribution would be taken out on his lady love.
Yeah.
It's very awful.
Yes, it is.
But she's not dead.
Well, in the novel, the monster kills everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he wants to hurt Victor as much as possible without actually killing him. Kills his younger brother.
You put it like that, yeah.
Kills his younger brother, kills his friend Henry,
okay.
And frames Victor for it. So Victor serves some time in prison as a result. Kills Elizabeth. Father
read this book.
Huh? It's a great book. Yeah, check it out. The only one that survives of the Frankenstein family is his brother Ernest, who gets like 3 mentions in the whole book.
And that's the character from the Ernest movies?
Yeah.
Ernest goes to jail.
Ernest goes
to camp.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
Ernest goes to hell, whatever.
Ernest goes to hell. In the handbasket.
Yeah, he's very distraught when he leaves the monster.
Yes.
He's like waving his hands in the air.
Yeah.
So we're left to wonder what exactly took place.
Yep.
What his intentions were, what really transpired, and we'll never know. And I guess that's the intention.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but again, absolutely interesting to think that he thinks it didn't go well.
Right.
And I stand by how I feel about that character. That'd be really weird if he just suddenly was going to rape.
Yeah, I don't see
somebody.
that. I don't see that.
Doesn't seem right. I just think it was. Yeah, I guess it is a little bit too gray. It's hard to say.
Yeah, no, I can't see him being.
Maybe he just didn't want all that screaming. Yeah. Whatever it was, he didn't picture all that screaming.
Screaming was much too much.
He hasn't really had a lot of experience with screaming.
He hasn't had experience with women.
That's true.
Either. So
yeah.
The last one he saw died.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? And we're not. I don't think we're supposed to know what took place.
Yeah.
That's otherwise it would be overt.
And just putting myself in the mindset of the people that ended up with this end product, I have to assume that they want it vague.
Yeah.
And that suits the audience of the times.
It does. And this scene actually wouldn't have played out this way after 34 when the production code went into effect. You couldn't probably have implied the rape.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't think. Even though, like we say, it's unlikely that that's what took place.
Right.
There's the implication, and I'm sure in the mind of the vast majority of viewers, that's what they saw happen.
Yeah.
Right or wrong.
Yep.
So there.
But not kids.
No. When you were a kid, what did you think he did?
I probably didn't think
much of
it through that much.
It was a horror movie trope that this is what happens in a horror movie.
It's so hard to put yourself into
my 7-year-old.
I mean, this is one of the notes I actually have for this is if you walked in right now, if you just walked in 56 minutes in and saw this scene, you would definitely think he was a real monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since he hasn't been that for so long, since it is 25 minutes he's been around,
right?
Yeah, there's no way. I can't imagine. But then again, as a kid, I wouldn't matter. None of it made any sense.
He did something and left. Yeah.
Yeah. He scared her. She fell down. He put her on the bed. I mean, honestly, there's reason to think
there's reason to think that's what happened. Yeah, absolutely.
She fell, hit her head, and he lightly placed her on the bed. That's reasonable.
That's actually, not far off from what we've seen the character behave.
Right.
Like. Yeah.
Right. And that actually, it all adds up because then as he's walking on, he's like, God damn it, she fell down. I can't believe it. She's okay.
Yeah. And then what is it about me? Is it me?
Is it me? Yep. All right, so then everybody comes in.
Yep.
And they all crowd around. I mean, it's everybody.
Let's make sure to
there's like 30 people in this room.
Crowd around her as much as possible and move her neck as much as possible.
That's what these are the rules. That's how they play out. And Victor is there once again. He's been placed at the whatever the focal point of the image, as he did when Henry
vanishing point
fell.
I
don't know, a year ago when we did that minute. And again, his role is to just sit there and stare at the other people, like, what are we doing? Do I have any lines?
You can hear the Baron muttering some things.
It's everyone else comes across
is very concerned. And,
as if they have just pretend like it's real and they know what to do, but not John Bowles.
Maybe John Bowles had no experience with a woman lying strewn across the bed.
I don't know what that means.
I'm not going to delve any deeper into that than I need to.
So then all right. So we have anything more on that part?
No, other than the whole scene is played out in a wide shot that tracks in. Mm-hmm. As that happens, then it cuts to a little more comfortable angle.
Right, and that's where you see Victor at the
Victor
focal point.
Yep, dead center. The crosshairs of the lens are right there.
Yep. Is this the last time we see him?
No.
Okay.
No. There's another scene, I think, next minute.
All right, the next...
or next 2 minutes.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's a good point. We're almost done.
Almost done.
Do you see I'm anticipating? Is this it? Is this the one? No, this ain't it. Remember? He's got a little bit more. He has more lines.
He does have more lines.
All right, so then we cut to the street party, the street fair,
the whoop-de-doo
the
going on.
whoop-de-doo,
the Lemley family reunion.
the shoe plotler and the tract.
Yep.
And it's a big party, and this is horrible. So
this is a very shocking.
Yeah, and well, of course, it's going to go into the next minute. We're going to go a lot more detail next week. But what you see is, Maria's dad has found Maria's body and is carrying Maria down the street.
Yeah.
And, the thing I was going to mention, the only thing I wanted to mention in this minute is, well, two things. First, I noticed when we were just watching it just now, there's a guy in the background when he first walks by. There's like one person in the village.
Kind of standing in the corner.
He's standing in the corner, and he's smoking a pipe, I think, because it looks like he's vaping.
Oh.
So I just wrote down he's vaping.
He's a time traveler.
He's a time traveler who's vaping.
Went back.
I love Frankenstein. I'm going to see him make this movie. I'm going to vape while I don't think you can see me. But she has the way he's holding her. It had to be very uncomfortable for her.
I would think so.
To maintain this position, and
her head
goes on for some time. Yeah, her head is backwards like that. Well, back, not. He hasn't broken her neck.
No, but it's tipped back.
Tipped back, yeah. And she's got, the other thing is, you can see her socks. She's got those long stockings, and one of them is down quite a ways, and it really effectively gives you this sense of her being disheveled, and it's horrible.
It also, we get back to the rape.
I thought you were going to say it throws back to when Fritz
pulled
his sock up.
Unfortunately not.
Not really?
No. Because without the scene of her being thrown in the lake, this is where you get the much more sinister implication of what he did.
I see. Ugh.
Look at her.
Yeah.
What do you think happened to her if you had no idea?
Yeah.
How she died?
Yep.
It paints a much uglier, uncomfortable image.
It's a weird thing, censorship.
So
the way they choose to make these decisions.
Cutting that did more harm than good.
Yep. I've recently become aware of some of the cuts that were made to the Nancy Drew novels.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, so those are written in the 30s.
Yeah.
And when I say they were written in the 30s, a lot of them were written in the 30s. Probably all the ones, if you've read any.
No. I have testicles, so I didn't.
That's right. So I actually got them as a gift for someone who doesn't.
Okay.
And what I found after looking it up is in the 90s, they released these original 30s versions because all the versions that came out when we were kids, starting in like the 50s and going through all the way till today, is a completely different version.
Oh, really?
And what they did is they tried to cut out the more racially insensitive bits. Okay, well, that makes perfect sense. It's totally something that, we should all be, in some way, admire these people in the 50s that wanted to be more sensitive.
Right.
Except what they ended up doing was kind of messing it up. It's another example of where your censorship is intended in one purpose and it kind of defeats the purpose, because at least one character, Nancy, finds herself with a black character, an African American. I'm not sure how to say it, but they're certainly not going to use the word they used in the novel. Which starts with N, but isn't that one. But I'm not going to say it either.
Norwegian?
Yeah, he's Norwegian.
Okay.
And that character, when Nancy and this character need to report to some other characters what happened,
right,
they don't believe him. But when she backs up his story, they do believe him. And I think, well, yeah, that's real. That's exactly how it would go.
Yes.
That's not necessarily a judgment.
No.
It might even be interpreted as a judgment in the other direction.
Right.
Right. And that's what we've got here.
Exactly.
This effort at censorship has actually created the exact opposite.
Backfired completely, yeah.
Yeah. And then just as often you'll see somebody will say, well, you can't do this. Okay, but what if we do that? And you end up with the actual filmmaker would pull I can't think of a great example of it now, but you've seen where, I'm probably thinking of an Evil Dead movie or something where they said, well, you can't do this. Actually, now that I think about it, Evil Dead is one of the ones. They said there's too much blood, so they made them all different colors.
Different colors, yeah.
Yeah. So you can sometimes make something even worse.
Around it, yeah.
Like, you won't let me do this? Well, then I'm really going to do this.
Well, there's an example of that with Psycho.
Okay.
In that he screened the infamous shower scene, screened it for the production code people. Hayes office.
Okay.
And it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's no way.
That toilet has to go.
Yep. Absolutely not. And here's what you need to cut. They made this list, and he's like, okay. So he went and put. Now I've heard two versions, that he left it alone, or that he put
actually
more
added
in.
stuff.
Yeah. And showed it to them again, and like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Exactly.
fixing that.
That's right.
And Whale was shrewd enough that, certainly by the time of Bride of Frankenstein, he put stuff in the script knowing full well that it would never, ever fly, but it deflected away from things he really wanted to be there, that he knew had he presented that, it wouldn't have flown.
Right.
So it distracted them enough that he got what he wanted by,
Well, that's going to be the thing about Bride when we get to Bride, and that's why that's why Gods and Monsters works. Is there's an assumption that that's his magnum opus, that he's going to make this. Whether it is, it certainly is in reality. It ended up being. I don't know if it was his intention that I'm gonna do it. You get the impression it was his intention to make this gigantic thing.
Yeah.
But that's part of how he did it.
Yes.
Is I'm gonna make it this, but when they're not looking, it's also this, but it's all those things.
Yeah.
This movie's a little bit more straightforward.
It is. It is very much more straightforward.
This movie sucks. Can't wait. How many minutes we got left till we get to Bride?
We got another 20 minutes to go.
That's all right. It's okay.
We'll get through it.